pull the trigger. Believe in yourself. If the data matches what you need it to match, and it's 80 to 90%, pull the trigger. Be much easier for you.
Welcome to the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast, the ultimate destination for accredited investors and entrepreneurs seeking alternative wealth-building strategies. Discover how to fast-track your journey to wealth and time freedom by thinking outside the box. If you're ready to join the ranks of the Contrarian Capitalists and learn the most effective ways to reach your financial goals faster, you're in the right place. Let's get started with today's episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast.
Thank you once again for joining another episode of the Contrarian Capitalist Podcast. I am your host and your favorite silverback, Sylvania Harrod. And on today's episode, I want to go to part 5 of what I've been going through the series right now of like 90 days to stop sitting on cash and start building real wealth. So episode 5, if you haven't heard the other 4, that's your own fault. You got to go back and listen to it. But I'm going to give you number 5 for today. And the real thing that I want you to get out of all of these different episodes is at the end of the day, you got to pull the trigger. Here's what's going to end up happening. The first time you go through the process of like figuring out what do you want to go after? How do you want to make things work? There's always this moment. And this moment comes up quite frequently. And I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter how many times you've done this, you're going to have this moment. And the moment comes of the moment of decision. Because here's what I will tell you. Fear will do a couple things for you. It'll either make you feel like fuck everything and run, or it will be false evidence appearing real. So what most don't tell you is that when it comes time to make the choice, there's always these moments where you go, oh my God, what could I be able to do? What's going to happen? Where things are going to go? And I need more information. I don't have all the right data. I don't have all the right things because it's a big change, you know? But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to really listen to it. What you need to do is ensure you understand your buy box. That's what you're going to say yes to. And I try to remove feelings from the situation because what I'm going to tell you is that like you're going to, no matter how much data you have, you're never going to have all the data. You're never going to have all the information. And so I learned from a few mentors of mine that 80% is 100%. If you have 80% of the information that aligns with your buy box of what you say yes to, that's a yes. Because nothing's going to have everything you want. Because if it has everything you want, you better have enough cash in order to acquire that thing, because that means you're going to be competing with other people for it. Things are going to be messy. It doesn't matter if it's your first fix and flip, if you're buying a business, if you're investing in a fund, you're never going to have all the information. I remember this analogy of like listening to a speaker one time talk about like if you impart an adult's mind into a child, they probably will never walk in their entire life because they'll be too afraid to actually take a step. So I lead you on that situation that you got to ask yourself the question. You've done all the due diligence. And sometimes you're only going to get so much information because you can be in a situation like I was helping a client the other day where you look at it and they have 2 years of bad financials, 1 year of great financials. That's because for the 2 years before, they didn't care about selling the thing. Last year, they care about selling it. I look at it as like, that's normal. But when I first did, that didn't seem normal to me. I thought people cared about accounting and cared about their books being straight. And then I realized that's never the case unless you're trying to sell something. What you care about is making your thing as inexpensive as possible. Like of making money, so you don't have to pay the IRS money. That's just the ugly fact of life. And until you get to a place where you're like, all right, maybe I want to offload this thing, kind of sell this thing. It's the same thing. Like I'll give you a real world scenario. Go to a person's house and then go to a person's house when they want to sell it. I guarantee those are 2 different homes. It's staged differently. They got fresh paint on the walls. They got all the yard cleaned up, looking tip-top shape. That's because they're trying to sell it. So in business, you're going to find the same thing. You're going to go through and you're going to look at different opportunities and somebody's trying to offload an asset. But there's beauty in messiness. Because here's the other thing. Those messed up pieces are the things that give you the opportunity. Because it's not about risk mitigation per se, because you want to mitigate as much risk as you possibly can. But it has more to do with belief in oneself. Because here's the thing. You can get a great company who has great financials and great things there. And if you have the capital to pay for it, you go through that process. But here's the other thing that ends up happening. Some of the employees probably aren't going to stay. Some of the top dogs may end up rolling out because they have allegiance to somebody else. Then you get into it and the government changes regulations. The city changes different process. You do a SWOT analysis, like these are the threats, right? Like these are the things that you can't control. Like, how do you know that you go ahead and you buy it and a competitor doesn't open up right next door? This is why I call it a sport. Because in sports, it's about the process of development. Because you may not hit a homer out the gate, but I guarantee the level of education you'll understand after 2 years is going to be fundamentally different than ever sitting on the sidelines. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine the other day, and he was like, well, motivational speakers go out and they talk about anybody can do it and be able to go through things and have that process. And you see these athletes, they go and they're just so disingenuous. I said, man, okay, let's look at the facts. The facts are, if you run a camp and you run a camp every year for 10 years and you put 1,000 campers through there, that's 10,000 campers. The actual facts are less than one of those 10,000 kids will ever make it to the capabilities of being a professional athlete in their sport. Less than one. So is it really about the accomplishment of going through and becoming a professional athlete? Or is it more about learning the different skills that you're required because you don't know what that's going to translate to in chapter 7 of that child's life? You never know when you plant a flower if it's actually going to bloom. That's why you have to pull the trigger. You got the data. You got the information. If it matches what you're willing to say yes to, and that yes is only determined by having the right proper mentor in your life, then perfect. Pull the trigger. Because I guarantee whatever you think it's going to be in 6 months, you're going to feel completely different about it. The thing that matters is, do they have consistent cash flow? And am I going to be able to support the debt payment that's going to be required for that asset? Because here's the other thing. We've been trained, debt is bad. That's not bad. There is, just like anything else, like there's, just like food isn't good or bad, it just creates a certain reaction, right? So if you take on debt for a payday loan for a depreciating asset and you're at a really high interest rate, but the smiles per gallon are there, then homie, that's up to you. I ain't here to tell you that's bad. I done made them decisions. And because I made those decisions, I know now not to make those decisions. Because I don't need to flex. Nobody cared. In the business, you have to look at it and say, okay, can the debt payment, with the debt payment stripped, do I have the capabilities of supporting what I need to do to live? And if the answer is yes, then just do it. Because the thing that you're going to have is debt is good because all the big boys, they use debt. It's a beautiful thing. Use it. It's there for a reason. Just be intelligent about what you're doing. But the purpose of this discussion is to get you to the point where you want to pull the trigger. And no matter how you pull the trigger or when you pull the trigger, the first time, it's always going to be scary. But remember I said there's 2 options that it can be with a fear? To me, most of the time, it's false evidence appearing real. Because what that business and acquiring that item will do to you is show you all of the creepy crawlies that lie dormant in the back of your head. And you get the option to tell them to be quiet. Or, thank you for letting me know that I'm just a little bit afraid in this scenario, and I'm still going to do it anyways. And that's the objective, is that those that I have conversations with that are in that space, that they know they got most of the information, but they know that no matter what, it's not going to be clean anyway. You just go through it and do it. And that's what I find is the biggest thing that breaks the employee kind of mindset, is the employee mindset has conditioned us in a place to always strive for stability and security and safety. Because in all honesty, if I'm running a company, I want those kind of people in there. So I'm gonna condition that. That's what makes me have great employees, people who are willing to work way harder than their return on investment. And the reality is I know that it's kind of like an electric fence. All that dog really has to do is run through the electric fence once. And then once it realizes, oh, the zap isn't that bad, it's going to keep running through the electric fence. But for most, they'll never run through that fence again. And that's okay. Bet on yourself. Believe in yourself. Because the reality is that only thing you're doing is you're trading a consistent, what's happening every 2 weeks for a place where you may get it once a quarter. But long term, if we look at a 10-year race, you're going to be in a fundamentally different position because environment is way more important than certain skills. I'll tell you that. If you're in the right environment, it just moves different. Don't believe me? Go to places like New York City and then go to places like Des Moines, Iowa. People will move different. They have a different feel. They have a different energy. The things they're willing to do, the way they talk about money, the way they talk about how much things cost will be fundamentally different. Because a good deal may be a $5,000 apartment, where in Des Moines, Iowa, that apartment may only be $2,000. And people think you're crazy for spending $5,000 for an apartment. But if you're in New York City, you're like, $2,000 apartment. Man, I ain't living in that. There's going to be me and 6 other people in that same place. Just because of situation, environment. Environment creates that. But at the same time, it gives you the possibility that you need. So to land the plane on this episode, what I want you to do is pull the trigger. Pull it. Go through it. Figure out if you have that belief within yourself, because there's no right or wrong answer. Yeah, you get a little bit of that. Okay, cool. If it's personally guaranteed, you'll figure it out. If you don't believe me, read biographies. Man, oh man, will that give you a situation of things that you cannot comprehend, of those dark nights of the soul that people have to go through, that we idolize and we talk about, oh my God, they're such a business success. Yeah, they all have it. They all have those moments, and all of them, because I have conversations with them to figure out what's there. So land a plane, pull the trigger, believe in yourself. If the data matches what you need it to match, and it's 80 to 90%, pull the trigger. Be much easier for you. With that, as always, everybody, stay hungry, stay humble, and stay grateful. Cheers, everybody.